Hey, this is Tim from Jeep Tubes, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
Hey, welcome to the XJ Talk Show pre-show. We're going to be talking a little bit about the show and what we're going to be doing in it. Although tonight, since we're going to be doing part 2 of Josh's adventure / misadventure, we'll probably not be doing a whole bunch of show prep since it'll be another long chat with Josh as far as what all went on in his off-road adventure. So we'll be talking a little bit more here in a minute. Josh has called in. Thank you for joining us live. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks for watching us on YouTube. That's the only place that you can get the pre and post show, by the way.
You'll soon be out of breath. Take my hand or you'll go deeper and contemplate your death. Your willingness or absence of will make the difference. I've gathered all my human force to help you save yourself. Listen to me, stay by my side, believe in me. I swear that despite any strife, I won't give up, it is my fate. I will not let you spoil your life. This God could well be all you get. I pray the gods are no that cares. For you are not everyone's free. Alive at last in my embrace. On the right side of sanity.
Oakley dokley. So I got everything shut up and all the noisemakers muffled and ready to sit back and have a nice wrap up of your story. Now, it probably won't be too soon for you since you've had a couple of weeks now to get over it, but
no, it's all still fairly fresh in my head, and I went back and listened to episode 139, so I'm pretty sure, fairly confident about where we left off and where I should pick up and how I'm going to do the recap and all that stuff. So
good. I was just going to remind you about a recap in case you had.
So I'm going to really kind of fly through that because I don't know how much time we're going to end up spending on the rest of it, and then we'll go after we're done because the carnage is going to be at the end, and then I suppose we'll just briefly touch on the repairs because the repairs at this point are done. And then I've got some. I guess I could give an official review on the HD Engineering shackle relocation brackets because now I've had some experience with them both on and off road.
You know what? I bet you that we are, pardon the pun, balls to the walls, and trying to get done so we can do the Amazon. You bought what? What do you think?
I know. That's why I'm like, boy. That's why I said if we have time, then we'll go into that stuff. But,
I think there's a snowball's chance.
Yeah, there's a slim to none. No, I think I'd put that. So there's a couple of pictures I put up in the show notes, and I loaded them into that one folder as well. I don't know if you can or are able to get to them, but I at least put them in the show notes so that you could see what I'm talking about. When I was talking about this triple black diamond super difficult trail system called Crushers, and when I said it's just a giant field of boulders, I meant it's a giant field of boulders, and it kind of gives you a perspective, an idea of the size, the scope, and the scale of this area. And it's really not so much as a trail as it is just a giant field of boulders that you kind of have to navigate through.
I don't think I had ever seen that field of boulders before today, and I just happened to be over on the JCR off-road website, and they have their JK, I think it's a JK, on that field of boulders and taking pictures of it with a drone, a quadcopter with a camera.
Right? Really? I got to go check this out.
Yeah, you need to look at it. It's done very good. It's pissing me off and making me want to go ahead and finish up my my drone so I can take some shots. It won't be that pretty because that's just you can just tell that's a beautiful area of the country, even with all the rocks.
Oh, that's oh wow. Is that in the Project Crusader area?
It's the one that is the default video that you see if you go to the page and you're not subscribed. YouTube. Did I say YouTube?
Oh, no, you didn't say YouTube. Okay. All right.
It's not on YouTube. I'm just saying YouTube. No, I'm kidding. It's on YouTube. Asshole. Alright, let's see. I'm going to put up because I don't think I have the list of pictures.
No, that says Silver Lake Sand Dunes.
I don't know. I'm just telling you, it was a big bunch of boulders they were driving on, and it looked just like the place you were talking about. Well, where did you put those things? XJ Talk Show. Pictures of Josh's wheeling trip.
Oh yeah, that's a little no. Look.
Audio must have jumped up on your side. The Skype audio must have jumped up because I hear you.
The music came up really loud again. I don't know why it does that. For a period when I'm not talking or something, Skype says, okay, well, we don't need to hear from you anymore, so we'll just go ahead and blast music down your channel.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before, and I think that you don't have it this way, but if you have the audio set to auto-adjust, it may do that.
Yeah, no, I've got auto turned off on both the speaker side and the mic side as far as Skype settings go.
Yeah, you got to tell those bastards to mind their own damn business.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing over here. Well, I'd like to think so anyways.
Let's see. How was I changing these things last time?
Well, I screwed you up, and you had to, upload the entire folder again after I changed things. So I was hoping that just because I added 2 pictures in, that it didn't screw things up, and that maybe you'd be able to just do something with just those 2 without having to reload everything.
I didn't save it, so I had to reload it.
Oh, okay.
But I just don't know. Last time I remember it wouldn't automatically play, and I could do something, and it would allow me to go forward and backward in the pictures, and I don't see that now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were able to sort of control the slideshow last time, I thought. I could be mistaken, but...
It ain't doing it this time.
Oh, and I didn't see
only
the
have
live
one
go
picture
up.
in there. That's why. Why did it only pick one picture, Josh?
I don't know.
That's not the way it's supposed to work.
I'm going to say user error.
So I'll close that one. And this is a list. Video, audio, and playlist. I remember that from last time. And those were all checked. Even though they were checked, I don't think they were selected. Oh, I'm sorry. You were saying something about you didn't see something go up or something?
Yeah, the live event. I didn't see it when I came in here this evening. I didn't see the live event on the YouTube channel.
I don't think I put it on until less than 30 minutes before start a show.
Oh, okay. That's why. Yeah, I see it now. It's up there.
Oh, and we're expecting a strong line of storms to roll through. Thunderstorms, thorns.
Thunderthorns?
It is the deal here. Anyway, so I don't know that it'll cause us any problem. I sat here and played video games through Hurricane Ike, so I guess it just really depends.
Yeah, I would imagine your power grid is probably pretty stable since you're kind of susceptible to that sort of weather pattern, aren't you?
Nah, not really.
Oh.
Not since around 98, about the time I bought my Jeep. We haven't been getting the pretty heavy rains that we would normally get. It's kind of gotten more like that here recently, but not like it used to be. Okay, so here we go, and yeah, I got a bunch of ones to play through. Oh, and now it's doing them automatically. All right, we'll have to play with this for a second to get it back the way it was. And it's going to cycle through all of them. I'll give everybody a preview here. No, it won't, because it's locked up the software while it's churning through these pictures. Oh yeah, I can see that the rock garden that the JCR bunch was in was a lot prettier than this.
Yeah.
You can't afford a can of black paint for that fender? Good Lord.
Yeah, I know.
The other
Everybody told me to do that. You got to paint that thing. I was like,
Oh,
well,
good.
I
I was just going to say all the wheelers were giving you a hard time about not having a perfectly painted rig, being sarcastic. And I'm just surprised that anybody said anything to you about it. Well, look at there. We got us a real wheeler out here. Of course, the other thing is, for street racers, same deal. You're supposed to have a nice vehicle, but it's all gray primer.
Yeah.
3 billion horsepower engine with a 3/4 race cam. All right. All right, Joel. Bear with us here a minute while I figure this out. Either that or we don't have pictures.
Well, I can always hold my phone up to the camera.
Well, that would be a nice change. And the district attorney would appreciate it. So don't see anything yet. Let's see. Are we're sending video, aren't we?
Let me see. I've got the live event up. All I see is the placeholder.
Yeah, that's what I'm sending. So 4-liter Jeeper says, evening fellas, and Hidden Wounds XJ says, don't see anything yet. I wonder if that's one of those Three Stooges deals where I got my eyes closed.
That's one thing I don't like about the YouTube comment section. It makes you wait like 30 seconds before you can post another comment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't just, back to back to back fire them off. I'm sure they're doing that for protection reasons, but...
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could set it, though.
Oh, here's a shot of my messy garage and the Jeep back home. I wish the camera would focus on that. There it kind of goes.
Josh B says, how's it going?
Yes, I do. You haven't seen, I haven't posted these up yet. I'm woefully behind on getting my my updates on the build threads and stuff going, but you haven't seen the up close and personal carnage from this last weekend.
We're talking about carnage. You're ruining the punchline. Why I have to tell a professional these things? I'm just some yahoo in Texas.
What do you know?
I've never DJ'd at a strip club. That's got to be 1,000 interesting stories.
Oh man, yeah. A lot of which I probably shouldn't go into on the air.
Yeah, probably 2,000 interesting stories actually.
Yeah.
And one was always bigger than the other.
Well, while you're finishing up there, I'll tell a brief little story that's not really Jeep related, but kind of goes along with your flag story that you shared with us recently. I was over at a fellow Jeeper's house. His name's Wes. He goes by 92 War Wagon. He's a big fan of the show and supporter of the show. And we were over there and just kind of hanging out. He had some knee surgery recently, so I decided to go over there and give him a hard time and see if I couldn't cause him some more pain. And he decided, hey, you know what? We should fly a flag. And I was like, well, you got a flagpole in your front yard. We might as well. And so he dug out one of these flags of honor from 9/11. I'm not sure exactly how he got one of these, but I believe they have in the red and white. It has all of the names of those who were killed when the towers fell. And so we flew that flag and sat there and we're patriotic for a little while. But yeah, that was I thought that was pretty cool because I hadn't seen one of those and geez, I haven't put a flag on a flagpole since I was a Boy Scout.
Oh, that's a shame. You should be doing flags on flagpoles regularly, even if it's a small one you got from Amazon and had a special little hat to put on it.
Yeah, that's one thing I always wanted. I always wanted my own flagpole.
Chicks dig it too. I don't see it. Completely do not see it. I think it was just an accident last time that I got it where I could actually thumb through the images, if you will.
Was it through a different player or something like that? I mean, is there a drop down somewhere?
It's not.
Sure
it's not a different player, but yeah, there's lots of drop downs.
Oh, for sure.
I have to give you a tour of this video software sometime. Yeah, it seems like there was some arrows or something on there that allowed me to click on things and to control it. It was kind of nice.
Oh.
It was really cool how it worked out. So
the picture just changed on the YouTube channel.
yeah, I'm wondering if maybe I don't have to make it active. Excuse me, for it to for me to be able to do something with it. And looking at something else here real quick. We'll get going here in just a minute, guys.
Yeah, speaking of looking at things here, this is a picture of me inside of the Metal Cloak TJ with the Jeep lid on it, and as you can see, it is quite see-through.
You know, it looks a lot better than the other way, because the other way you can't really tell that you can see through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame they don't have one that's not tinted, that's clear. If nothing else, just to show from the outside in, you know, for
right,
advertisement, promo shots.
Yeah, you'd lose that UV protection, but I suppose that's an option.
No.
Oh, that's just hideous. Good Lord, Tony. Put that thing away.
There we go.
Oh,
I fixed
boy.
it. This is before P90X and after. Yeah, so I think we should just get going. We just won't have any pictures this show. They can always go back and look at last show. So unfortunately.
Well, I've got everything on my phone here and queued up, so I mean, I it's going to be kind of ghetto, but I can hold things up to the camera, I suppose.
Ghetto, what does that mean? Like things that are done in the inner city, so they have smartphones in the inner city that they hold up to cameras.
Yeah, right. No, holding up smartphones to cameras. That's how we do things around here. There's the shot you were talking about. Can't really see through it, but
oh, that's cool. I can see some of the green screen behind the picture, through your camera.
I wonder if it's trying to grab the green from the trees and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. All right, well, let's stop monkeying around with this stuff and get on with the show.
Alrighty.
So let me look at the notes just to make sure I'm clear.
Oh, it is bleeding through a little bit. I'll be darned. That is weird. Oh, I wonder if it's reflecting. No, because I'm holding the camera back that way. That's got to be. That's weird how it bleeds through like that.
Hang on 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, you're gonna be getting a therapy bill here in the mail soon.
Yeah, I see the comments.
Oh, I wonder if I can.
It may be my headphones, but I think you may have gone a little too tinny.
Tinny? I went tinny?
Yeah, on the opener.
It is an old opener that I just sort of dubbed over.
No, I mean, I thought you processed it to make it sound like it's old time radio, because it's very tinny.
The voice I did, but the rest of it shouldn't be.
No. It's just the voice. I just think it might be hard to understand. Like I said, but it might just be the headphones. Stacy Dash is messing with me here because I'm not able to completely focus on what I'm doing. She keeps posting up pictures of herself on Twitter.
I'm afraid I don't know who that person is.
She was the one of the three chicks from I don't want to call it stupidity, but it was Clueless.
Oh, I'm looking her up right now. Goodness sakes.
Yeah, she was like in her 30s when she did that movie, and I think she's like my age or close to it. Beautiful girl.
Mm-hmm.
I told her the other day that there's probably a portrait of her looking really bad in her attic. I thought twice about saying it because you're telling somebody they're old, but right. She knows she's not 30 anymore, so she took it as a compliment, so that's good. She's a Fox News contributor now because she's a conservative type individual.
Oh, I'll be darned.
A conservative of color. Alrighty. I was just chatting back with Matt of Bleeping Jeeps. He finally got back to me about that deal. That dang deal that we've been talking about. So let's see. Where's my notes? Oh, I got it over here. I got the notes in the wrong place.
Too many monitors now, Tony.
Drive. And plus the government monitors that are watching me. So
yeah. I can't forget about those monitors.
Yeah, they get cranky. Woefully late. All right, let's get going.
All right.
Broadcast for an important XJ Talk Show news break. Hot summer weather and the 2014 Jeep Cherokee. These and other things that will kill you coming up right after the show.
Bienvenidos al XJ Talk Show, un podcast acerca de aventuras off-road en Jeep Cherokees y entrevistas con los que manejan y mueven el mundo de las carreras off-road. Ahora, aquí están sus presentadores, Tony y Josh.
So funny. Hey, this is Tony, and this is the XJ Talk Show. the premier podcast about Jeep Cherokees and all things that go bump in the night. No, not really. Just made that up. Anyway, this is episode 140, and here is my very cheerful and back-ached co-host.
Oh, boy. Yeah, no, I'm ibuprofened up and ready to go. Hey guys, this is Josh. You know me as NW99XJ or Northwest 99XJ over at xjtalk.com, and well, that's why we're here. As Tony said, the web's most premier Jeep site.
I like to think so. So if you guys don't recall, last week we deviated from the norm, and the norm is always a wide open term here on this show. But we didn't do our standard little segments. We actually just spoke about Josh's wheeling adventure, or maybe a misadventure. We're going to find out more tonight. But anyway, we're going to complete that saga, hopefully, tonight. So we're going to, again, deviate from the norm and continue talking about the fun. And it was fun. It's an adventure one way or another. If you don't lose a finger in shop, it's always, it makes for an interesting story, and things get fixed and continue on.
Yep, and when we left off, guys, I was about, a little more than halfway through the adventure and hadn't gotten quite to the good part yet. So we'll roll into that here tonight. We're going to try and get to a little bit of Amazon You Bought What as well. We got a review to share with you fellas, and I think we may even have a voicemail we can squeeze in here as well. So we'll see if we can't fit everything into 1 hour. It might be hard, and I'll try and keep things as short and fast as possible.
Well, I'll tell you guys, like I tell my wife, I'm a man, I can make it fit.
There's a few jokes in there that I just can't touch because this is supposed to be a family-friendly show.
Yeah, well, you got it, because that's exactly the way I meant it. She's come a long way in her understanding of smart-ass sexual innuendo. In the window. And it's been in the window before, too. That breeze felt nice.
I said, let's go ahead and just dive right into it, because I don't know if we're going to be able to have time for everything. So I'll just briefly do a quick recap. If you guys missed episode 139, well, you're going to have to go back. Go check us out over at the xjtalk.com. And the entire show archive is there for you. You can download episode 139 for absolutely free and catch up, if you will. And we also you can find our shows over at the XJ Talk YouTube channel as well. And you can see some of the cool slideshow that Tony was sharing with us of some of the pictures from last week's show that from my wheeling adventure from a few weeks ago. So we don't have picture capability to share with you guys tonight, so we're going to try and do something a little different and use some technology and some technology. And I'm going to be holding up my smartphone and kind of sharing some pictures with you via webcam. So they're not going to be super detailed, certainly not high definition, but it'll at least kind of give you an idea for the live viewers and for those going back and viewing the YouTube show from the YouTube channel, sort of what I'm talking about. So where we left off, I'll just briefly recap. This wheeling adventure was an annual event. This is like the 63rd or something like that. I don't know. It's with the Jolly Jeepers, who is the oldest Jeep group or Jeep club, sanctioned Jeep club in all of Oregon, and potentially even in the nation, if not the West Coast. The Jolly Jeepers have been established since 1961 or somewhere around there. So they've been around for quite a while, and they put on one heck of an event. It's a weekend-long event. They only accept 100 vehicles into the event, and I've been lucky enough to be a part of this for the last 4 or 5 years or so. So it was an adventure even getting to this event. I was a week behind in my schedule. I thought I still had another week to prep for the Jeep, prep the Jeep for the show, and I didn't. And it's not a show really; it was more of a run. So it was a last minute ditch effort to get the Jeep ready for this, and I had a laundry list of things to do, and I didn't quite get everything done, but I got most of the important stuff done. So one of the things that was on my list was replacing the leaf spring bushings in the rear leaves, and as you can see in this picture I'm holding up now, they were quite bad. That is an old versus the new, and I had to go through quite a bit to get those out, it was an absolute pain just to get those out. It took me about 5.5 hours just to get one out. Ended up having to virtually cut it in half and fold it in on itself just to get it to press out and hammer out of the leaf spring. Once those were out, I put in some shackle relocation brackets from HD Engineering, freshened up the CB. I had some issues there, topped off the fluids, cleaned myself up, and loaded the Jeep up full of camping gear and all my recovery gear and tools and everything else that I was going to need for the weekend. So once I got on the road, it was extremely late. I had forgotten a couple things, had to turn around a couple of times, come back for some stuff. Still had to fuel up. And all that. I got into the Tillamook State Forest recreational area very late. The gates for the event had already closed, so I basically had to sleep in my Jeep.
Tell them about the lack of bacon.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we'll get to the bacon part here in a minute. But yeah, it was I'm 6'3". I'm a big guy, and as we all know, the back of the Cherokees, even the late models, don't have a whole lot of cargo room. And so when you're, full of gear, camping gear and recovery gear and tools and extra parts and all that stuff, there's not a lot of spare room in the Jeep. So I had a banquet table with me. I laid that on top of everything, threw a sleeping bag on top of that, and slept in the back of my Jeep. I got a couple hours of sleep and headed the rest of the way in the morning to meet up with the rest of my crew who I was meeting up down there. And I rolled in about, it was like, 6:30, 7 o'clock, something like that. Stopped at this little place called Alice's Country Kitchen because I had seen my buddy who's got the Northwest Regional Metal Cloak, TJ, and you can't miss that Jeep, and you see it a mile away. So quick, flipped a Yui in the middle of the road and went down there, and they were just finishing up, so I didn't get a chance to get any coffee or any bacon for that matter either. And it was all right, well, we got to go. So okay, well, I'm here, and so it was rally into camp really quick, unload all the camping gear, load back in the recovery gear and the tools, strap everything down and get ready, and off to the staging area I went. The first day was very interesting. Out on the trail, we hit the very first trail. We had been, off-road all of about 15, 20 minutes, and we had a CJ shear off both of his spring mounts in the back. And so the axle was just sitting there flopping around. And so we got him off the trail. That took about 45 minutes to clear him and get him on his way. We ended up going back on our merry way with a smaller group, and we were into another trail system, and we had some more carnage. And this time it was a Dodge Dakota who was rather modified, I should say. He was on some I want to say like some 35 1550s or something. I mean, just these huge monster Thornbirds, and he ended up completely grenading his steering box. And which made things very interesting because we ended up having to, this is right in the middle of a trail system, and we ended up having to get him into a point where we could, get people around him and get him to bypass, get people to bypass him. We got another trail lead to come up and get the rest of the crew on their way. And while myself, the trail lead, and then this guy, stayed behind to get him off the trail. We hooked a chain up to his knuckles and a bridle, tried using a winch cable along with that to get things to, steer properly. That didn't work. We were trying to move things around a little bit as we could. We ended up having to use come-alongs, and a come-along from one side of the vehicle to one knuckle, and a come-along from the other side of the vehicle to the other knuckle. And it was 5.5 hours of, with the come-alongs ratcheting to get the wheels to turn. And it was, move 2 or 3 feet to unload the traction on the tires, ratchet them the rest of the way to steer the vehicle, then move 20 or 30 feet, unload it all, do it all over again. And it was 5.5 hours of this in 90-degree weather, dusty trail, and very high humidity. And then, having to run back to my Jeep 50, 100 yards back, grab it, catch up to the rest, back underneath his rig and ratcheting some more. I mean, it was a workout, and I was tired, I was beat, and I was very dirty by the time I got back to camp.
I can't believe you spent 5 hours of your precious time, weekend time, doing that. That's a hell of a deal.
Yeah, and at least we got back to camp, and everybody made it in one piece, and he was able to get his vehicle onto a trailer and get back down to camp. So, I mean, I'm from the kind of camp that, no soldier left behind. Now, granted, he wasn't a Jeeper. At least he had Mopar, so he had that going for him. But nonetheless, we weren't going to just leave him stranded out there. Well, good luck. Sorry about your bad luck. That wasn't going to happen. So
you should have thought twice whenever you put those size tires with with that little bitty steering box.
So we got back to camp and had just enough time to clean up and grab a couple beers and go get some dinner and head back into to the main area for the raffle. And the Jolly Jeepers really put on a pretty good show. And everybody gets a door prize. I had won a T-shirt and it was a little gift bag. It was a T-shirt that was way too small for me. A hat, a laser pointer, and a little toy semi-truck or something like that. I don't even know where the stuff is right now, but that's all I won. I mean, they were giving away CBs and winches and all sorts of other stuff. And so, after that was all over, it was back to camp, and I hadn't even set up camp at that point. So, it was get all the camping gear up and everything and crash for the night, wake up the next morning, breakfast, hit the staging area and, or hit the rally point. And then we left for the next day's worth of wheeling. And the next day's wheeling was much more difficult section of trails. And we did this on purpose because we wanted to whittle down from the 12 vehicles we had the day before to just more of a few. And then this core group that I wheel with only once or twice a year. And they're in some pretty decently modified vehicles, very capable. This is the same group that I went to the Rubicon with last year. And so I look forward to meeting up with these guys and wheeling with them every year. Well, this year we had a few other people that we met at the staging area that decided to tag along. We ended up hitting the trails and without any difficulty or issue. And I'm sorry, my camera's not focusing on this, but we had a Toyota and a Cherokee and another Cherokee join our group, and that was fine. It was cool to have some diversity along with us. And the Cherokee that was with us, it was an older, I think it was like a 92 or something like that, freshly lifted on a 4.5-inch rough country suspension. He hadn't had it out. This is kind of his shakedown run. He was a younger kid. I'm going to say about 19, 20 years old or so. It's just kind of cool to have him along and whatnot. We hit this trail section. It's a 4-section trail. It's called Firebreak 5, and it's known for its difficulty and technicality. We had some fun on it. We got up through 3 of the 4 sections and decided to break for lunch, and we all kind of just staged up and had some fun. We flexed out some vehicles and ate some lunch and kind of BS'd for a little while, and we had a good time. This was right at the same area where there's a very large rock garden. And so this rock garden we decided to play on. I mean, it's part of the trail system, and as you can see, it's just nothing but big rocks, and it's a lot of fun to play on, and you get a chance to really flex out the Jeeps and really kind of test the vehicle's capabilities. It's a very technical section, and we have a lot of fun on it. And with the Metal Cloak TJ and my buddy in the $65,000-$70,000 CJ7. This is the vehicle that I was in on the Rubicon. It's one of my favorite Jeeps of all time. Love that thing. And of course, I had my chance to play in the rocks as well. And my Jeep did extremely well. I was in this section of rocks last year, and I had some difficulties. A lot of it was because of my suspension, the way things were set up, and this year it performed phenomenally well. The shackle relocation brackets that I put on, I think, were the biggest attributing factor to the way the Jeep performed in the rocks like this. And we had a lot of fun. After that, we decided to split the group up, and I took everybody else through the final section of Firebreak 5 up to the top, and the other group moved on to this area called Crushers. And Crushers is it's a triple black diamond. It's one of the highest rated difficulty level of trails that we have in the Oregon area, and it's basically just a giant field of boulders. And there really is no line. There's no trail. It's basically you get in, and once you make it through the filter and are down into the trail, it's pretty much good luck making it to the other side. And there's just it's just a remarkable field of boulders, and it's extremely difficult. You have to be armored. I mean, 33s, locked front and rear, and as much armor as your Jeep can carry is a bare minimum for going in there. And so myself and the rest of the group bypassed that to go up to the top. It's kind of on the side of a mountain. Firebreak 5 kind of curves around it. And so I took the rest of the crew who didn't have the vehicle capabilities to get up in there, up to the top, and then everybody could hike down into the big bowl area where these other 3 Jeeps were playing. And so it was the Metal Cloak TJ that highly modified CJ, and there was another CJ5 that was in the group as well that went in there and played, and so I went up and through the upper filter is where I like to play, and so I took my Jeep in there, and I've got a great video of my experience through that up on YouTube, and I wish I could share it with you guys here right now, but unfortunately I'm unable to do that. But we'll post a link up in the show notes for you guys if you'd like to check out some of my videos from this weekend. I had some great GoPro footage and stuff, and we had a lot of fun. Well, in this filter, and for those of you who don't know what a trail filter is, it's not a filter like like an oil filter, but it kind of does the same sort of thing. What this filter is designed for is that if you can't make it through the filter, you can't make it through the trail. And so it's meant to keep those who are not equipped enough or skilled enough or modified enough off of the trail that they shouldn't be on in the first place. And I haven't had an issue through the filters of these more difficult trails in the Jeep before, even with prior modifications. Now I'm a lot more modified, certainly a lot more experienced, and I know these trail systems pretty well. So and I've been on this filter to crushers before. So myself and one other guy decided to play in this, and he aired down a little bit more, and I just kind of went in it. And I wasn't really planning on going down into the bowl, into the main area. I just wanted to go through the filter, kind of go up into this upper section, turn around, and come back. And through the course of that, I had some interesting things happen. And although it was some of the most spectacular weather, and the vistas up there are unlike anything that a lot of you guys get to see. Living out in the Midwest or whatever. I mean, just the views are absolutely remarkable. But I wasn't up there just for the views. I wanted to get up there and do some wheeling as well. Well, once I was up in there through that filter, I had a couple difficulties, and one of the things that happened. Here's a shot of some of the more pristine views that we have in the Tillamook State Forest. Just nothing but panoramic mountain ranges. Blue skies. It's just absolutely marvelous. It's why I go up there and wheel in the first place. But one of the things I had happen was I got in a position where I was trying to turn around, and I got positioned over this rock. And in moving back and forth, trying to get myself turned around, I ended up kind of not quite high centering, but getting this rock underneath the Jeep in a precarious position to where it was between my cross member and my rear axle. And so I couldn't go forward and I couldn't go backwards very far without either tagging the cross member or tagging the rear axle. And so it was like this Austin Powers, when he's in the that hallway trying to move back and forth, and so I'm trying to crab walk the Jeep over to try and get off of this rock or out from over the top of it, and to where I can at least get a tire over it. And it took me several attempts. And it really, this between playing in the rock garden, going through the filter, and then being in that position, it really made me. I came to a realization that gearing is extremely important when you're into this level of wheeling. Now you can lift your Jeep 5 or 6 inches. You can run 33s, 35s, whatever you want. You can still run your stock 355 gearing, but you're going to have some issues. And one of the issues that I found was. I didn't have that crawl ratio. I had to, get the RPMs up to disengage the stall point on the torque converter, the automatic transmission, which of course, once that engages, the Jeep would, because the RPMs are up, even in 4 low, the Jeep would lunge a little bit. And so I didn't have that slow start, that crawl. I had to kind of, bump the RPMs up and jump the Jeep a little bit. Well, it's hard to control, especially in tight maneuvering, trying to get the Jeep to turn around to get things to do what you want to do. And in the process of trying to get the Jeep to turn around, I ended up, tagging the cross member, tagging the rear axle several times. I eventually did get my Jeep positioned over the top of that rock to where I can get a tire over it and just crawl over it and get my, happy butt down the rest of the trail and back out. Well, in the process of doing so, I ended up suffering some pretty severe carnage. And the extent of which I didn't quite fully realize until I had gotten out and tried to spot myself into a better position from the one I was at. And let's see if I can pull these pictures up for you guys. The extent of the carnage, which is going to be kind of hard to see in these pictures I'm holding up, But folks, that's my transfer case right there that now has some new breather holes in it. I ended up splitting my transfer case wide open on one of these rocks. And thankfully, I had a spill kit with me, an off-road spill kit. So all the transfer case fluid that did spill out, I was able to trap and mop up and clean. But there's a good shot of a nice big fat crack and several more cracks coming off of that crack of my transfer case, which split wide open. So mind you, at this point in time, I'm through the filter and up into a triple black diamond trail, and I have little to no fluid left in my transfer case. And so it was, once I saw that, oh crap, I got to go. And so down the hill I flew, back through the filter, not really giving a damn about anything, spotting, wheel position, any of that. I just sort of, and it wasn't, pedal to the metal or anything like that. I just sort of went through it the way that I knew how to go through it. I knew where I needed to put my tires, but I wasn't delicate with it by any means. It was the only thing on my mind was getting the Jeep through and getting it off the trail to where I could get it recovered, because I knew obviously I wasn't going to be driving this Jeep for very much longer without risking seizing up the transfer case altogether, destroying the internals, seizing something other than the transfer case. My worst concerns were damaged transmission. So, through the rest, and I only had about 100 yards after the filter to go before I was up into an area called the top of Saddle Mountain Road. And this is basically the summit of the Tillamook State Forest mountain range. And so once I got up there, I parked the Jeep and really assessed the damage. That's when I started taking the pictures of the carnage and stuff. And I knew I was in a position where, okay, the Jeep is safe now. I'm out of harm's way. I'm out of the trail's way. And whatever happens from here, at least I'll be able to get the Jeep recovered, get a tow truck or a flatbed or something up here. Now, I don't have a tow rig and I don't have a trailer. So I was at the mercy of those around me to lend a hand. And I hate being in that position. But luckily enough, I've got a, pretty good group of friends and these guys that I wheel with, we've all helped each other out. And so I had one guy, who's the Northwest regional rep for Metal Cloak, and a good friend of mine. He came to my rescue, rallied back down to the camp, to the base camp, got his truck and trailer, loaded his Jeep, plus all of my camping gear, which was only about halfway broken down at that point in time, loaded everything into his truck, loaded his Jeep onto the trailer, and came back up to come get me. Pulled his Jeep up off the trailer. I ended up driving that home. We put my Jeep onto his trailer, and we basically went on our merry way. So some of the other damage that occurred was, as I was assessing the damage through everything else, one of the other guys that were coming along, because at this point, pretty much everybody knew that this XJ had a busted up transfer case, and everybody wanted to see what a cracked transfer case looks like. This one guy says, "Hey, you got something else over here?" And I was like, "Oh, goody, what's next?" And so it was my driver's side axle U-joint had pretty much completely grenaded, and it was toast. And there was, basically nothing left. It was completely broken in half. It had chewed up some of the ears. I don't know when that happened. It could have happened when I was coming out of the trail, out of the filter, when I was pushing things a little hard. Honestly, I have no idea. And it doesn't really matter. I had a spare U-joint, but I wasn't going to bother doing that. The Jeep was dead in the water anyways. But I couldn't have asked for a better place to break down at. Just the view and the vista that I had right behind my Jeep was absolutely marvelous. So I took some pictures, and I had a couple of hours to kill while my rescue team was coming back to come get me. But we ended up getting the Jeep loaded up on a trailer. And it's a sad sight right there, seeing my Jeep on a trailer, and I'm driving behind it, and knowing that that Jeep is basically dead in the water. Took one last picture of the day. This is postcard type of scenery here, folks. If you ever get a chance to come out to Oregon and wheel, I highly recommend it. Please come out. I would be more than happy to give you guys a tour and take you up to some of these spots, and you can see sort of the stuff that I wheel and the kind of adventures that I have on a semi-regular basis. Now, that wasn't the end of it right there. It was a whole nother day just to get my Jeep back to where back to my place. It was a whole nother day just to do that. Had it up on the trailer. We had to do some vehicle swapping. The Metal Cloak TJ had to go into the shop. It had a little bit of carnage that had to get dealt with, a sheared airline, a track bar that was hitting a truss, and other things. We finally got my Jeep back to my garage, back to its home. Barely got it into the garage because of the axle U-joint was binding, because it was so destroyed. But I had a set of replacement shafts. I found this guy on Craigslist. Replacement inner and outer shafts with U-joints and unit bearings. The guy gave them to me for $60.
Okay, so I know you were talking at one time about getting some chrome moly shafts from a guy on Naxtra, right? That didn't work out, or it was just too much.
He wanted $400 for that kit. I priced that same exact kit out. Full retail was $650. It's a good deal, but
not a great deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might be able to get a better deal still. So I'm holding out. I don't think they've sold quite yet, but these are going to make good spares. I don't have any really heavy wheeling trips coming up. I might go out wheeling this weekend. I have a big show that I got to do. It's the Salem Jeepers Summer Jam. It's down in Salem, Oregon, Oregon State Capitol, and it's a yearly show. This is like my third or fourth year with this show. And so I got to DJ that, and that was the thing, is the mad dash to get this Jeep fixed so I could load up my DJ gear with it into it and do the show. Last weekend was the weekend for repairs. I found a replacement transfer case on Craigslist. It was a guy who had another NB242, and it already had a slip yoke eliminator on it, and it happened to be the same as the Rubicon Express hack and tap flange. Our yoke adapter that is the same on mine. So basically, it was a direct bolt-in replacement for what I had, and it was $200. So
yeah, but you were 231 before, right?
No, I was 242.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So and that was a whole adventure to get that transfer case.
Let me stop you real quick. I don't think this had anything to do with it, but the audience may wonder. Do you think that the transfer case cracking in half had anything to do with it being the perceived weaker NP242?
Absolutely not. Really, what it came down to was, I mean, the 242 and the 231 cases are almost identical. The only difference are the nose cones of the output shaft, and of course the internals having the viscous decoupler inside of them, giving them the ability to run full-time four-wheel drive if you so wish. And this is different than the, the 249, I think it is, that you find in the Grand Cherokees, which is nothing but full-time four-wheel drive or four-low. Mm-hmm. That's basically all you get with those. So this gives you the option of two-wheel drive, four-high, four-low, and full-time four-wheel drive. Now, it's not my favorite transfer case by any stretch of the imagination, but it's what I had in the Jeep, and it's what I wanted to go with, because if I did do a 231, I would obviously have to do a slip yoke eliminator because of the lift that I'm at right now. And the 231 slip yoke eliminator and the 242 hack and tap style that I have now are with substantially different length. So with a short shaft kit on a 231, the whole transfer case assembly is much shorter than the 242 with a hack and tap. And so my driveline combination that I've got right now wouldn't have worked. Now, would I have liked to have done that? Yes. I didn't have the time to do it, and I didn't really want to spend the money right now on a new driveline and stuff, especially when I've got some stuff in the works as far as putting together a heavy-duty transfer case.
Well, you had a limited amount of time, too. So you had a limited amount of time. So actually, like you say, this worked out perfectly.
So getting the old axle shafts out, I was able to see just how much damage was really done. I mean, there's a shot of I think that is I can't remember if that's the short or the long shaft. It's the driver's side, so it's both short shafts. But I don't remember if that's the outer or the inner shaft. But that U-joint's basically broken in half. And of course, the ear is the ears are completely toast, and the U-joint cap is completely blown off. And the ears are stretched out. Here's a good shot of that U-joint cap just completely disintegrated. You can see it just sheared right off, just blew that thing out.
So do you think it broke in half and then the damage occurred, or do you think it came loose and then through the binding it broke in half?
It's the age-old question: which came first, the chicken or the egg?
I thought you might be able to see something on there, or maybe remember hearing something, but I guess not.
No, and honestly, I didn't even know that this had happened because, up to that point, the Jeep was still rolling. I didn't hear any clicking or notice any binding on that corner as I was, driving out of the trail. But here you can see the needle bearings inside the knuckle, just all, sitting there on top of my Alloy USA ball joint, which ended up taking some damage unto itself.
Oh no!
Well, when that U joint went, the whole axle assembly dropped because you didn't have the U joint suspending the two halves of the axle there together anymore. So it dropped on top of that ball joint. And here you can see it actually scraped away some of the top of my ball joint along with the grease zerk. Now these are greasable ball joints. And it actually kind of damaged the top of it a little bit. Now I'm able to clean that up, and I'll go ahead and chase those taps, extract what is left of the grease zerk in there, and get that all fixed up, and it should be good to go. Got the replacement U joints or the axle shaft, and I just put the entire assembly in there, the shafts, the U joint that's in there, and the unit bearing, just to get me by for now. It's not pretty. I wouldn't wheel on this. But at least I've got a spare if I need to, and the Jeep is back on the road. Next up was the transfer cases, or the replacement transfer case. So I pulled the transfer case out, cleaned up the old one. The old one there is obviously the one without all the dirt, and or the old one is the one with the dirt and the red rag sticking out of it. And the new one is I cleaned up with some simple green and some elbow grease. And got that all ready to bolt in. I didn't want to bother with doing splitting the case open or anything like that. When I met the guy to pick this thing up, I spun it, I worked it through the gears, everything seemed to work okay. So I really wasn't too terribly worried about the condition of the case. Everything seemed to be okay. The chain wasn't rattling against the case itself. Everything turned and spun, so I was like, hey, this should be good to go. So I pulled my old case out, put the new case in, and did a fluid change. And when I pulled the drain plugs and started draining the fluid out of the new case, the fluid was very brown, very dark. I could tell it probably hadn't ever been changed. Mm-hmm. The guy didn't take very good care of this 242, I seemed, or it may have very well been abused. So as the fluid was draining out, and I don't think it was quite full of fluid, it was probably half to 3/4 the way full of fluid. As it got down to the last little bit of fluid, it started to turn a little sparkly. There's a little bit of metal in that fluid, and so I started to get very, very worried at that point. And I got my pick tool in there. I removed both the fill and the drain port. I'm looking in the gears. I'm spinning everything to kind of see if all the gears are still there. I'm looking at the output, the input shaft gears, the main gear. I can see the chain. I can see the chain's got a little bit of a droop to it, but again, it wasn't dragging on the case, so I knew it wasn't terribly stretched out or anything like that. I didn't see any marring on the gears. I didn't see any shiny metal on the gears. I didn't see any missing teeth or anything like that. So I knew I was in fairly good shape. I got my pick tool in there and kind of scraped some of the metal off that was down at the bottom there. I got a couple small chunks of actual metal out of that. And what I determined was it looked like a C-clip of some kind. There's a lot of C-clips on the output shaft of these NV or new process or new venture transfer cases. That hold everything in place. I think one of those worked themselves loose, and it kind of got into all the gears, and it's a softer metal than the gears themselves, and it got all chewed up and disintegrated, and that's what was in there. I filled up the transfer case with fluid, got everything bolted back up, and did a road test around the neighborhood, got the Jeep all back and buttoned up and back on its own wheels, and during my little road test through the neighborhood, everything seemed to go fine. Jeep accelerated fine. Stopped fine. It went through all the gear ranges. I went through 4 low, 4 high, even full-time 4-wheel drive. Everything seemed to work. I accelerated. I reversed. Went through all the motions, and everything seems to be working fine. I even drove the Jeep to work yesterday, which was an interesting adventure unto itself because of the shackle relocation brackets. But that's another story as well. But it's the Jeep ended up working out fairly well. I drove it to work because I wanted to make sure that everything was going to be working fine, and it does. So my plan in the future, in the very near future here, I've got to do some adjustments on my shocker relocation brackets. I'm going to do an axle shaft upgrade here very soon as well. And the plan with the transfer case situation is that I'm going to be building a heavy duty transfer case. And I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to stick with the 242 or if I want to go with the 231. I'm kind of leaning towards the 231 range, but I'm going to be doing a heavy duty version of it. And it's going to be involving a 6 planetary gear set in there as well for strength, a heavier duty, a larger, or a wider main drive gear in there, so I can run the heavy duty chain, which is like an 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches wide chain versus like the 3/4 of an inch or an inch chain that is in the stock 231 or the 242 transfer cases, and really beef that thing up. Now, there's one thing that I wish I would have done before I left for this trip from the beginning, and that was I had a transfer case skid plate sitting in my garage. Now, the problem is that my unibody doesn't have the provisions to screw it in. There you can see the 2 holes in the unibody where there would have been nutserts installed for this factory transfer case skid plate. Which if any of you guys have seen it, it's basically just it's a plate that's all of about maybe 2 feet long. It goes diagonally from the middle of your transfer or your transmission cross member over to the frame rail and right across underneath the transfer case, and it protects it from exactly what happened.
As far as skid plates go, it's very unimpressive. It's
very you're right. It's not sexy. It's not very pretty. It's not 1/4 inch steel. It's not all flat and pretty. And had I had time, all I was going to do was just tack weld it in place.
Oh, that'd been a good idea.
Quick feeds. It would have served its purpose. Because I wasn't going to go through the trouble of getting a nutsert insert tool or trying to track down the right nutserts or anything like that. I wasn't going to start cutting holes in the unibody and welding nuts into there or anything like that. I was just going to weld it in place, and if I had to take it off later, it's just a couple of grinds of some spot where some spot welds or whatever, and off it came. And I really, really wish I would have done that. I was running late anyways, and it would have saved me $300 almost, and a weekend's worth of work. But nonetheless, I can't complain. It was a learning experience. I'd definitely do it all over again. Maybe just do some things a little bit different. But it was a very interesting adventure, and I had a lot of fun. And I got to give big thanks out there to Kelly, the regional rep for Metal Cloak and RMP 4-wheel drive. And of course, my buddies who came through and helped me out, Brandon B. Mikes, he goes by on xjtalk.com, and of course, Wes 92 Warwagon, who, even though he had just came out of surgery, mere 24 hours prior, he came by in braces and everything, and decided to supervise and point fingers and delegate. So it was awfully nice of him to stop by as well and lend some moral support.
Sounds like payback.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's great. Yeah. I guess the lesson learned here is that whenever you get in too big of a hurry, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is out on the trail. I was being mindful, but you never can tell. You may end up in a position that is not favorable for the vehicle that you're driving, or even in some of your guys' cases, maybe even your own capabilities. Now, the Jeep was more than capable of getting through what I had put it in. Mm-hmm. The problem was it had just gotten in a very precarious position. I mean, this is, a perfect storm of scenarios here. I mean, this otherwise never would have happened. I've been in that area before a few times. I'm familiar with it. I've had the Jeep up there. It was just where I had turned around, the angle of the Jeep, and the position that I was in just got to put me in the wrong kind of spot, and carnage ensued afterwards. So my lesson is, I mean, what I took away from all of this is, one, you got to have armor, folks. Mm-hmm. Got to have armor. And secondly, I learned just how important gearing can be when you absolutely need it.
So let me ask you, since I have really limited off-road experience and really no experience on rocks, in my mind, just on stuff that I've read, and of course it's worst case scenarios like this situation, at least that's what sticks out in your memory is what bad, what horrible thing happened to somebody and how much work they had to do because of it. I wouldn't think that anybody would go on rocks without proper skid plates, especially for the transfer case, because it's such a game killer. Just one wrong move, you crack that thing open, you're done. And if you don't got a trailer, it gets to sit there until you can figure out a way to get it back. So, of the people out there, did you have any kind of feel? I mean, I know you weren't crawling underneath the Jeeps inspecting everything, but did you get a feel for who had transfer case skids and maybe a full range of skids, front skid, gas tank skid, which I think would be another game changer and potentially exciting if you were to get it on the right type of rock and sparks. But
oh yeah, well, for most, I don't know about the early model, but I know for sure that all the late model Cherokees and all the TJs all have plastic gas tanks. And that's why it is so important. I mean, I've been saying for years that the two most important pieces of armor are, one, rock rails, because I mean, you can hammer out some dents here and there of fenders and things like that. But your gas tank, if you put that plastic gas tank of a Cherokee or a TJ onto a rock, now talk about a game ender. That right there, you puncture a hole in your gas tank, I mean, you're done. So gas tank skid plate is very important. Rock rails are very important because they definitely increase the capability of your Jeep. Because you can drag your Jeep via the rock rails around a tree or over a rock or an obstacle or what have you. But definitely undercarriage armor is also important. I've got control arm bracket skid plates. It was kind of built into the new mounts that I have on there from Ballistic Fabrication. I've got gas tank skid plate. I've got rock rails, and I have this transfer case skid plate. But again, I really, really wish I would have put it on. But live and learn.
So the I guess confusing way I put it, how many people out there would you say were wheeling without transfer case skid plates?
In our group, well, the Toyota didn't have any armor. The Cherokee didn't have any armor at all. The CJs both had armor, and the TJ was semi-armored. He's got rock rails, he's got gas tank skid plate, and he's got an oil pan skid plate, but nothing in front as far as control arm skids or transfer case skids or anything like that. So he was a little bit unprotected as well, and he was actually playing in the big rocks where I wouldn't go without a full belly pan.
So you could have made it. It was just really, like you say, it was one of those situations where it was just the perfect storm, the right series of events, and I guess that's exactly what the skids help you survive from, and say, hey, I meant to do that, and just go on. So so the broken transfer case that you have, I know that you have plans to build up a 231 more than likely, but it would be pretty easy to find another case and put your old 242 parts in there and have a spare, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that's in fact one of the things that I'm going to try and do is find myself, and the other option is to just screw the case and just take the output shaft out and sell it to somebody.
That's true.
Because really that's all that you need. Is just that output shaft with the hack and tap flange on it, and I'll try and get a good close up view here. There's the hack and tap flange, and that's basically your double cardan joint bolts to that, and your drive line bolts to the double cardan joint, the CV joint. So it's a lathe modified output shaft. It's basically what you would get from Tom Woods if you were to buy their 242 slip yoke eliminator. They have a different flange kit. It's more like the 231 transfer case, but a 231 slip yoke eliminator. But that's basically the same thing. So yeah, it's obviously I can't salvage the case, but I'm going to at least salvage the guts or salvage the output shaft and move on.
Excellent. Well, glad you made it back. Glad you got it all pieced back together, and hopefully it'll hold together long enough for you to make longer-term changes with it.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, I think we got a little time here. Should we you want to do the voicemails or get into Amazon You Bought What?
Well, how many voicemails do we have? I've only got. I would imagine Nikki G has got some stuff to share with us.
Yeah, we have a pretty interesting one too. Just a couple. Let's hit the voicemails.
Sure.
Hey, this is Tony.
And this is Josh from the XJ Talk Show. We want to thank you for calling our 24/7 voice line.
Yes, we do. Just leave your first name and your question or comment.
There's no guarantee, but we may play your message on the podcast.
Oh, and don't worry about keeping it clean. We'll take care of that.
Now it's your turn to speak at the beep.
Hey, this is Nicky G, and just listening to the podcast / YouTube channel, and found it very interesting of Josh doing all the rock crawling stuff, and I enjoyed the pictures of it. And but I just want to say that is not for me. As you know, my Jeep has no cup holders, so any beverages I have to be lodged firmly in my crotch. And going over rocks and bumps and stuff like that will cause it to spill, make it look like I wet myself. And then everybody will call me pee-pee pants again. So,
Again.
No thanks. I'll just stay to the paved roads. All right, gentlemen, I will catch you later. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, I like that again.
Hey, this is Nicky G, and listen to the podcast and the post show where you guys talked about the Tony and Josh show, and I have left thousands of voicemails on that line. So whoever has that phone number now probably thinks I'm crazy. But I'm going to call and apologize to them and inform them. And I've got you on speakerphone on my phone. I'm using my crappy Verizon work phone to call them. I'll put them on speaker. The phone works. And we'll see how it goes. I hope you guys can hear this. It's ringing. Press pound key. Hey, this is Nicky G, and I've been leaving voicemails for the Tony and Josh show. It's a podcast about two functionally illiterate guys. It's a pretty good podcast. You should check it out. But this used to be the number for them, and it is no longer. So I apologize for leaving all these crazy voicemails. I'm really not insane, although a lot of people argue that. But while I got you on the line, let me ask you, can you tell me why 7-Eleven has locks on the door if they're open 24 hours a day? Couldn't they just save that $100 for door locks and pass the savings on to us, the consumers? Maybe lower the price of a Slurpee from 79 cents to like 77 cents. All right, gentlemen or gals, whoever it may be, I'll chat at you next week. Have a good one. Bye. But that'll keep them wondering for a while. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.
So, if you guys don't know what Nicky G's talking about, we the Tony and Josh show, another podcast that Josh and I do, was on hiatus for several months, and the free voicemail service we were using, which is different than this one that we use on XJ Talk Show. If you don't use it for 30 days, you lose it. So if there's no activity on it, they remove the number and give it from you and give it to somebody else. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But we didn't realize that because it's been a long time since I set it up. So Josh and I have been giving out the numbers for everybody to call in. And then when I did find out that the number was gone, I was telling Josh in the post show that Nicky G's been calling that number, and I don't know who's been hearing it. So that was him calling them and letting them know, apologizing for the thousands of messages that he's called and left.
I was going to say, it's too bad that it was just a kind of a generic answering machine or whatever, because it would have been kind of curious to see who it was that was, whose line is that now?
Yeah, like Tom and Phil's mortuary, where you get half off when you only bury half the loved one or something like that.
You tag them, we bag them.
Well, let's move along to our Amazon You Bought What.
Oh, I can't wait.
Amazon.com and the XJ Talk Show present You Bought What?
And this is a thing that where I go, Josh, how does this work?
Well, how this works, guys, is if you'd like to join in on the fun, well, we've got a great relationship set up with Amazon.com. And if you guys don't know who Amazon.com is, well, you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years. No, I'm kidding. It's basically the number one place that you can go to buy anything you could possibly think of online. It's probably your number one most destination and probably the number one most used destination for online shopping. And we've got a great relationship set up with them. Folks, if you'd like to participate, all you got to do is head over to xjtalk.com or xjtalkshow.com. You're going to see an Amazon banner right there on the main page. You click on that. It takes you right to Amazon.com where you can do all the shopping that you would normally do. And Amazon has agreed to give us a small little kickback. It's a great way for you guys to help support your favorite off-road show. And it helps us keep the lights on over here at xjtalkshow.com Central. In addition to that, they give us a list of the things that you guys have been buying, and we have some fun with it. You guys have shown up with some crotchless panties before and some bacon salt and all sorts of oddball items.
Purchased, yes. Not shown up with.
Well, that's true. Not shown up with. Have bought. Yeah. Thankfully, we haven't had anybody show up with any crotchless panties. So, but nonetheless, it's those kind of curveballs that makes this a lot of fun. And one quick thing, guys, by doing this, you're not going to pay a single red cent more for what you're buying. I know you're probably thinking, well, they just go ahead and mark the price up. It doesn't work that way. It's actually a great way to stick it to the man, if you will, and get yourself a great deal on some great products and, well, help support the XJ Talk Show all at the same time.
It really is a win-win. You pay the same price that you would normally pay, and we still get something out of it. In fact, Josh, we got a little deposit from Amazon today. It's from May. But it's still a little money. It helps pay to keep the lights on here.
Fantastic, and well, guys, this list is looking pretty good. We've got all sorts of stuff, and unfortunately, I don't see any crotchless panties on it on this week. But and I don't see any of those marital aids that we've had in the past as well. But nonetheless, there is some cool stuff, and I think I even see a Jeep part or two.
Oh, hey, I'll tell you real quick. We normally tell you to go over to xjtalk or xjtalkshow.com and click on the Amazon banner. Well, you can actually go to xjtalk.com/Amazon or xjtalkshow.com/Amazon. And not only will you see the banner that you click on, and that's the only thing that's on the page, you'll also start seeing these items that we talk about in the Amazon You Bought in What segment. So if you see something here and if you hear about it, and you want to learn more or maybe purchase it, you can just go to xjtalkshow.com/Amazon and see and click on the item. And you don't have to click any more than that, because if you buy it, we get the credit for it.
And in fact, if you buy anything over the next 24 hours after clicking that, we're going to get that credit too. But don't wait too long, folks. So let's go ahead and get those and keep those purchases coming, in fact.
All right. You want to go or you want me to go?
I want you to take first run on this. I've been talking all night.
Yeah, you have. Okay. So this is the... This is a near and dear item to me. It's a Elm 327 Bluetooth scan tool, OBD2 scanner. So this is a nice little thing, and I think we talked about this the last time we did this, not last show, but the last time we did this. I really like these little things because they allow you to monitor all the sensors that the OBD2 has access to from your smartphone. No wires, nothing, just smartphone. This thing plugged into the OBD2 port, and boy, you got a constant stream of data. It's almost like Star Trek.
Yeah, it is really cool. And that Torque app, for those of you who have a smartphone, I mean, I think they've got it for Apple. I'm pretty sure. I know they've got it for all the Android devices. Guys, if you've got a tablet laying around and you can find a mount for that for the Jeep. A tablet running Torque and this little Bluetooth dongle thing you just plug right into the Jeep. It is a very cool combination to have, real-time diagnostics and all those numbers right there at your fingertips and display while you're wheeling or out on the trail.
Well,
really cool stuff.
Well, one quick thing I'll mention, not only can you see what your speedometer is telling you the speed is, it'll also give you GPS speed if your smartphone is enabled with GPS. So you can actually see where you're off on the speed. How you might want to get one of those little transfer case Speedo multi-tooth gears to go in there and correct it.
That's right. Yeah, good point, Tony. Well, here in continuing the automotive section, we have an ACI 99300 windshield washer pump. That's a good combination to have because, when you're out on the trail, there's nothing better than a clean windshield.
No. There's a truck stop joke in there somewhere.
Well, I'm sure there's all kinds of jokes in there. I was even going to go ahead and do some self-deprecation on that one, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone.
There you go. So this probably is some Jeep-related stuff, and we always like seeing people going to Amazon and buying Jeep-related replacement parts. Lord knows they always need them. This is a Dorman hood latch, and I'll just go ahead and add in the Dorman hood release cable. If you ever have a problem with your release cable, heaven help you getting that hood open.
Yeah. Yeah, and on Jeeps, and especially like the like the YJs, they were notorious for having bad release cables, or TJs rather, and the XJs, same thing. Early model XJs, always sticky hood release cables, and so it's nice to have these get a fresh one in there every now and again. So here's one. Somebody might be having some cooling issues. I've actually seen a couple posts here recently on xjtalk.com of somebody having an issue with some heating or some cooling issues rather, trying to keep the temps down on their own Jeep. And this is a GMB 110 to 1080p. I don't know if that's horsepower or pressure, PSI, but nonetheless, it's a high performance series water pump. It's only $50, and that's a pretty good deal considering it's on Amazon.
Yeah, and this is pretty cool. This is a book, and I'm just going to go with this one. This will be our last one for the evening. We got to wrap it up. But right. Today, today being such a hot day down here in Texas, and Steve 4.3 LXJ in our chat room said it was 102 there in the area of California that he's in. So anyway, this book seems aptly named "The 98.6 Degrees: The Art of Keeping Your Ass Alive."
Man, anything over 80 degrees.
Just found out what you bought.
Oh my God, I just can't believe that made it on the list.
Sorry, Josh.
That's all right.
So anyway, go ahead.
I mean, it's important to keep your ass alive. I'd like to keep some other parts of me alive as well, but I guess that's probably in series 2 of the book.
With a dead ass, you're never sitting down, and nobody wants to be alive if you can't sit down every once in a while. So, I just wanted to mention the reviews that we did get. Josh, why don't you give us those real quick?
All right. Well, we got just one this evening. It's from a guy named Daniel Bryant. He's a fan of or a friend of ours on Facebook, and he wrote in, "Love the XJ Talk Show. You guys are awesome." And he says, "I listen to it and find it to be interesting and very helpful and great entertainment as well." Very kind words from Daniel Bryant. I'm not sure exactly where he's from. Hopefully he's a Jeeper as well, but he's a friend of ours on Facebook, and he left us some very kind words there. Guys, we invite you to, leave us some kind words like Daniel Bryant did there on Facebook, or head over to Stitcher or iTunes if you guys are listening or using the XJ Talk Show through iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review and a comment there as well, and we'll be sure to get it out on the air.
Do you know it has been June 2nd was the last time we had an iTunes review, Josh?
Huh?
Yes.
You people, how dare you leave us hanging like that? No, I'm just kidding, guys. We appreciate all the support that you have been giving us. If you'd like to call in and, give us some kudos just with your own voice, you can do that too, like Nikki G has done many, many times.
Yes.
Even had a short joke or like to get in for your own interview for a wheeling adventure you've recently had, give our 24/7 voicemail line a call at 530-675-4102.
Yeah, we'll be getting back to the normal segments next week, but like I said, the adventure that Josh was on, I thought was so interesting. Josh was kind enough to go through all of that, relive that whole thing, and as you saw, that it was giving him some cold sweats. He was having to towel off during the telling of that show because he was having to relive those horrible no bacon events.
Oh, next year I'm bringing 2 pounds of bacon up there, pre-cooked,
in the shape of a pillow.
Hey, yes, because I did forget my pillow. That's right. Thanks for bringing that up again.
Well, how's the throttle body coming? No, I'm just messing with you.
Oh, there's another one. Yeah. Sitting on my desk at work. At least it's made it that far.
Oh, paperweight. That's got to be interesting. I'm sure the chicks come by and go, "Hey, nice throttle body. You going to make that bigger?"
I get asked about it all the time. Nice one. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow, if you're listening to the live show, is Friday. That's Red Fridays, or RED. Remember, everyone deployed, guys. Please head over to hiddenwoundsxj.com or find them on Facebook and like them. Please support their cause. They're helping out people with PTSD and traumatic brain injury, and they're trying to build a Cherokee to raise awareness and take around to shows. So let's go help those guys out.
Absolutely. Well, till next week, this is Tony.
And this is Josh.
You guys have a great Jeep week.
My name's fucking Audrey, kid. Red Jeeps are sexy. And you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
Well, I think I finally got too much stuff running. There was a little bit of lag whenever I was doing the video stuff tonight. I was starting to close some programs up, actually off, to see if I couldn't get rid of that little bit of lag that was in there. That one, well, that came up real quick then. That's strange. Anyway.
So what did we end up? Did we go over tonight?
Yeah, I think it was 102 when I just pressed the stop on the button. I think we were.
That's not too bad.
Oh, no, not at all. Not for us.
Right?
Yeah. So and I actually went back and looked at the show notes. I got a little out of order there, but actually looked back at the show notes and saw that we had that review. So
that's good. We got everything in there, so I think that's all that matters.
Yep, and I put little X's next to the items that we talked about, so I can have a way of going back and seeing what I need to add to the Amazon page. I did get them all right. You did the windshield washer pump, the high performance water pump.
Yeah,
I did those.
Now I have been just deleting out of the list the ones that we have. I don't know if that does any good or not, but yeah, that's what I've been doing so far.
Yeah, let's since I'm gonna start adding these things to that page. Let's mark them in some way.
Okay.
I mean, the little X's are fine.
Yeah. I mean, we could, also try highlighting them or something like that if that doesn't work. If the model number has an X in front of it or something, but that's few and far between. I think we've got a good system there.
Ooh, somebody bought a Uniden Pro 520 XL 40-channel CB radio. I can't believe how cheap CBs are.
That was going to be my next item, just because that's that's a very Jeepish type of item.
Well, I saw that we were at 57 minutes, so I made the command decision.
Totally cool.
Let's see. Bitmain Antminer 2 gigahertz USB Bitcoin. Oh, interesting.
It's a Bitcoin mining thingamajigger.
Good Lord, not for $15.
I thought the floor the rug was pulled out from underneath the whole Bitcoin thing. So I thought that was something that was dying.
Oh, I don't think it's dying. I think that the Bitcoin's like $600 or $700 a coin. And I think the hard part now is that since it's based on prime numbers or something, that you have to do a lot of computing power to actually generate a Bitcoin, that I think a lot of the Bitcoins have already been found. Personally, whenever it got up to $700, I would have sold as many of them as I could.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's the two main exchanges were hacked or compromised or corrupted or something. There's something about the two big main exchange points where you could go to exchange your Bitcoins for real currency or whatever. So, and there was some issues here in the last few months with those.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that where they did have some problems with that. I think that anybody that has a Bitcoin still has a Bitcoin, and you may have a problem going to an exchange, but you can actually do commerce. I think Leo Laporte actually takes Bitcoins as donations. So there's a way for people to give you Bitcoins. I had thought about setting something up on our site just for the grins of having a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a Bitcoin, just because it would be kind of a novelty thing. They're supposed to be infinitely divisible. So, and of course the division is it's a simple matter of how much is a Bitcoin divided by your 0.0000123 part of it. But that's kind of cool how you can own a piece of a coin. So yeah, so modern day stuff. Anyway, we're going to read a couple more here real quick. Nice shot, black, one female, yes, 2.1 millimeter jack to 2 male, 2.11 millimeter plug. It just rolls off the lips. Power supply, splitter cable, DCY power adapter for CCTV. Let's see. Ooh, WTB Moto 2.3 race tire, black, 26-inch. Oh, that reminds me. I was watching Extreme Off-Road with Ian Johnson this past Sunday. And
I missed this weekend's show, dang it.
Yeah, and I actually don't, go make it a point to go sit in front of the television at the time. It's on the DVR. But so I was watching it later that day, and he was talking about these Polaris Razors, the side-by-sides, which I have absolutely no interest in, because why in God's name would I go spend $20,000 for a go-kart?
Yeah. That's basically what it is. It's an off-road go-kart.
Now when I was in Nevada with my wife, for SEMA, we went out in the desert and drove around on those things. That's exactly what it was. It was a Polaris Razor. And the one we were in was actually a 4-seater. And cool thing, a lot of fun. It was really very, very fun. But
not for the price tag.
$20,000, $20,000. I paid $24,000 for my Jeep brand new.
I was going to say, you could go out and buy an extremely well built Wrangler for $20,000 right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be 10 or 15 years old, but still. Nonetheless, you can get, and we're talking long arms, lockers, the whole 9 yards, fully caged, XO 39s.
Yeah.
You can
drive it down to the grocery store.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, and the whole thing is it's road legal still.
Or the mall. You can go to the mall in it too. So, but that was interesting because he actually addressed that in the show. He says, and he said that their brand new Polaris Razor came in just under $20,000. And it just, he was never a big fan of the side-by-sides. He saw them on the trails and stuff. And since he's been wheeling them, he sees more, he understands more why it's fun. Of course, having a show buy you the Razor, I'm sure helps help you feel that way too. But he says, but you got a $20,000 vehicle that you can only use on the trails.
Yeah, basically.
And he says, but in some states, you can make them street legal.
I guess all it takes is some turn signals, some headlights, brake lights, and a license plate.
That's what he went through. A windshield, turn signals, yeah, and a couple other things, a rear view mirror, because they
got belts. There's no emissions to worry about because they're all small 4-stroke engines or whatever.
Yep. So anyway, he was actually going around and running around doing little errands in the Razor on the going and getting the shop crew some food, and it was fun. And anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. And Matt, our admin on xjtalk.com, his brother has one of those. I think it's a Scorpion or something. I can't remember now, but it was a $18,000 side by side that they've already had to replace several of the stock parts because the control arms and stuff just aren't strong enough to handle the off-road, which to me for $18,000, and they have to start replacing stuff. Anyway, I thought, hey, this is kind of interesting. I'll tell Matt about this, and maybe they already know, but I'll say, tell Matt. I figured Texas must be one of the states that you can get by with using these things on the road. Find out, no, you can't. Texas is not one of the states that allows you to go to take, make modifications and drive this thing on the road. I think that what they were saying on Extreme Off-Road was that it's a modified thing where you can't take it on the highway, but any place that you can go around 40 miles an hour or slower, then you could drive it. So it might not make a great commuter vehicle, but I guess it all depends on where you work, how close you are from home. But that would be a cool way to get back and forth to work.
Yeah, wouldn't it though? Now, I mean, these guys they're doing some heavy. I mean, this is near Ultra 4 class type of modifications, and these guys are running these in a special class at King of the Hammers. You saw it this year on some of the live footage. These guys running this class, and this is the early day. I mean, these guys are running the Thursday, Friday heats and stuff. But these are, I mean, they're running 33-inch, 31, 33-inch tires on these things with vehicle rims, heavily modified engines, and the suspension is completely one-off on these things. But they're taking these little side-by-sides, modifying them to hell and back, and then running them through the King of the Hammers.
Yeah, I can see that. And of course, that is one of the nice things is that certainly if you trash your $20,000 side by side, it's not the same thing as trashing your beloved XJ or TJ or JK. So I to each their own. I'm just talking about me personally, and it was nice to hear Ian Johnson say the same thing. It's like I never could understand spending this much money on one of these things. Well, you could get a 2000 era, like 2003, 2006 TJ for $10,000 to $12,000 stock, and then just go to the parts catalog and say, I want that, I want that, I want that, and work your way up. Put 10,000 more into it, and have a $20,000 TJ that would climb a vertical embankment.
Yeah, that's just it. You're going to get more places, and I personally believe you're going to have more fun in a 20 grand TJ than a 20 grand side by side.
And I know it's not about looks, fellas, but good Lord, a built TJ is going to look a hell of a lot better than that little pissant go-kart. And no offense to you guys that have them, but that is the goofiest looking thing I have ever seen in my life. It looks like something that should be going across the surface of Mars.
Now, honestly, if I had the kind of disposable income, let's say I win the lottery this weekend or something like that, I might go out and get one just for grins and giggles. And
sure.
So that, I could bring some extra people along with me out on the trail. If we wanted to go on a wheeling adventure or something like that, hey, why don't you guys hop in this thing and come along for the ride? So, hey, why not? Now, one thing I will say is that because of the power to weight ratio of those things, they would probably be a little bit more fun in the sand than, like, say, a Jeep.
It was a lot of fun in the sand. Yeah, it was a lot of fun in the sand.
You got to have horsepower. You got to have locked rear end, and really, you probably should have paddles if you're gonna, take a Jeep out onto the sand. Now, I've had my own Cherokee out on the sand, and it does fairly well. I am open in the rear. I've got some, definitely have more horsepower than stock out of that 4-liter, but I could tell that it wasn't as home as it is on the rocks, just because of the way that I have built this Jeep. It wasn't meant for sand. It was meant for trails. It was meant for rocks and stuff like that. So
it's probably your gearing. It's probably your gearing more than anything else.
That could have a lot to do with it too.
I noticed that the Amazon page that I have for xjtalk.com is not the same updated one that for xjtalkshow.com. So I'm copying that over real quick. So I haven't had a lot of conversations on my Road King RK400 noise canceling headset, but my wife, as I reported in the post on xjtalk.com, my wife was simply amazed at how well she could hear me. She goes, it sounded like I was just talking on the phone in a quiet environment.
Wow. Is that right?
Yep.
No road noise at all. She didn't hear any wind noise or road noise or anything like that, huh?
Between 70 and 80 miles an hour, mud tires on my Jeep.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'd say that's a pretty good review right there.
Yeah, and the only thing I can say derogatory, and I need to verify that I just don't have perhaps a faulty unit, is that the volume in my ear is not loud enough.
That's the way it is with most of those things. The Bluetooth ones, I could never get loud enough, you know.
I wonder if it's a power thing.
Yeah, I'm sitting there driving, you know, holding it in my ear. Huh? What? You know?
Yeah, I wonder if it's a power consumption thing where they don't want you to run the volume up too loud. But I did put the additional cushion that comes with it on the ear that I probably should remove. You know, it's one of those supposedly audio invisible, well, like what I have on my microphone, the foam thing, and it goes on the ear deal. And I figured if nothing else that keep the earwax from building up on the actual speaker itself. But the speaker has a cover, so I may just need to remove that little foam thing, and it may get louder. It was fine for listening to my wife. I was having a conversation, but if you talk to somebody that doesn't speak very loud into the phone, I think you would be constantly saying, what?
Yeah.
And they're going to be confused because you're in a nice, quiet environment. As far as they could tell. Why can't you hear me? Well, you wouldn't believe the noise that I have. So I know it wouldn't be a good idea, but if it was a headset for both ears, I think it would work out better. But when you're driving, it kind of is a bad thing to have both ears covered up.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know about in your state, but up here, you cannot drive with headphones on or in or whatever.
Yeah, but there's earbuds, and how are they going to tell?
Yeah.
No, I believe it. I don't think it's legal here either. In fact, when I went to buy some Heil, a Heil headset for my ham radio, Bob Heil actually in the email, because I was asking him about something having to do with connecting up to the ICOM 706. And I was wanting the dual headphone design because I know how loud the Jeep is, and I just like the idea of that. And he goes, if you're going to use this in your Jeep, please only get the one headphone model. And I did. So, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to be able to talk on the radio going on road trips with the family. Well, it turns out the wife doesn't like it too much. I'm sitting there, having a good time on the radio talking to people, and she's sitting there twiddling her thumbs. We'll talk to the kids.
I give everybody a mic.
Yeah, actually, I think it was this picture at the top of the show notes with the gray TJ, the silver TJ, and the rocks that reminded me of those rocks that it was in the JCR off-road commercial. Same
color of rock, same kind of size and stuff like that. It's a bad angle, but that's actually an LJ.
I saw one of those the other day, and I know it would have been a good thing to have, but I am glad that I did not find an LJ when I was looking for a Jeep for my wife. I just think it would be a for aftermarket and stuff. It's weird. It's a weird animal, and there's going to be some things that you probably would like to do with a Wrangler. Now, if it was an off-road vehicle, sure. I mean, that the longer wheelbase, oh, hell yeah. But this is going to be something my wife is driving, and she's always wanted a Wrangler. I always wanted a Wrangler. I didn't want something that was a modified Wrangler, unless I modified it. So
right.
Anywho, yeah, I don't know if you noticed or not. You probably didn't because you were talking, but Steve joined us in the show tonight.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, when he came in, and I made a big deal about it. It's like, Steve, and they're like, the Steve, and I was like, yep, the one and only 4.3 LXJ.
Well, I tried a little extra advertisement. I know it's last minute advertisement, which is never really, really good, but tried a little extra advertisement and didn't seem to stir up any more activity than what we normally see. Got to do more advertising. I just hope people don't find it obnoxious.
Speaking of obnoxious, did you somebody in the comment section asked if you saw my super bouncy video that I posted up?
I watched it. I actually made a comment on it on Facebook, and I think it was this morning that I watched it. I got up early this morning and saw it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't able to get on Facebook today. I'm kind of upset about that.
I bet you are.
Well, I was fairly active with it yesterday. I'd spend 30 seconds here and post a picture. Okay, back.
Oh
to what I
no,
was
you
doing.
were very active. I just figured getting, that was like I said, one of the podcasts, pulling teeth to get you on there. So
yeah, I know, right?
So I figured it was like I thought it was like a smart ass remark. Like, yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get on there, and I'm really upset about that. Rolls eyes. 4-liter 4-liter Jeeper says I'd build a sweet Samurai instead, or a Willys.
Yeah, we had a flat fender in our group that last day. It was pretty cool.
Hey, have you seen these? I know you've seen the rear quarter panel with basically the slider bars built into the armor.
Yeah.
Have you seen the front ones that have the flat fender and basically has the bar, but it's a flat fender?
Yeah, I think Thor makes a set of those, and of course our friend Tim Anderson with Jeep Tubes, he's got a version of that as well.
What's going on with that guy? You were going to contact him.
Yeah, and I reached out to him, left a voicemail, never heard anything back.
Oh, okay.
I know that he had some issues in his life.
Yeah.
Recently in the last year or so. He's moved around a little bit. I actually asked about him from some people on Naxja, and somebody had said that he had moved back to this area more recently. He had moved down to Bend, which is about 6 hours from here or something like that. He was way out of town.
Yeah.
And had moved the business down there as well. So, I don't know. The website is still there. His phone number is still active. So I don't know. I don't know. He's more than likely, I imagine, fairly tied up with things, but I don't know exactly what's going on, so I can only speculate.
Well, anyway, going back to the side armor, I was I don't want to say seriously considering, but thinking about that would be kind of nice to have. I'm gonna take seeing how much I take the Jeep off road.
That's what I was going to say is that level of armor, although it is really sexy and it really makes the Jeep look cool. It's for a level of protection in the kinds of trails that I don't know that you would find yourself in too often.
Well, I'm kind of the opposite the way you are. I have a tendency not to go wheel, but plan for it and make sure I got all the stuff. And of course, that's people give me a hard time about that. It looks great. When are you going to take it off road? Oh yeah, that's great. You got those 100 pounds of sliders and frame stiffeners. When are you going to take it off road? So, well, I'm not ready yet. I need to get this on there, and I need to get this on there because I don't want it to get hurt. I want, so you're kind of in a better situation since it's a daily driver. You still got to use it though. You still got to depend on it. And when you were relating that in your story about I had to get all this stuff done because I don't have anything else that will carry my gear. So even though it's not a dedicated get to work type thing, it's still something that you have to depend upon. And that's the way I look at it on this thing. If I'm going to take it off road, and I know it's due to my inexperience of not knowing how much control I will have over what kind of damage I'm going to get on the vehicle. I just look at it like if I can put this there and this there and this there, and then get a 3-foot layer of Nerf and just circle it, it'll be okay. 3 feet of Nerf, as long as there's not a rainstorm or a big mud puddle, I'm okay.
That's great. 3 feet of Nerf. Oh, there's a signature line waiting to happen right there.
But anyway, you know what I'm saying, especially after you go on what you went through.
Well, I mean, look, for years, my Jeep was my daily driver. And so I went through all of that and more because I had things where I broke it on Saturday. And I had Sunday to try and, put something together to try and fix it. I, broke an axle shaft and and trying to fix it. And where do I go? Who do I I have 24 hours, less than 24 hours to fix this. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm not getting to work the next day.
Yeah.
And so you get that in your head, and you think to yourself, geez, do I really want to go up this trail? There's a chance that this, that, or the other thing could happen, and I might be stranded. I may not be able to get the Jeep home. I may break it, get the Jeep home, but not be able to get to work the next day. Something like that. So it ends up putting this mindset into your head that can be detrimental to wheeling. I hate to say it like that, but you kind of get it in your head like, geez, well, if I break the Jeep, I'm screwed.
Yeah. At the very least, I'm going to be very busy for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess maybe that's part of the advantage of having one of those $20,000 razors, because now who cares? I'll get to it when I get to it. I feel like going wheeling. I guess I have to go fix the damn thing. Also, too, they're really light, so they're probably less likely to take damage than something heavier.
Yeah, no, true. But they do flop a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. That's all part of the fun.
All right. Well, I've got our script for our promo up there and ready to go.
Well, that's our cue to say goodbye. So, guys, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. Thanks for the comments. It really does mean a lot to Josh and I had to think of your name, to be in, for you guys to be here in our live show. So every Thursday night, 10 p.m., please feel free to join us every week, and we'll look forward to seeing you. And like I said before, have a great Jeep week.
Yep. See you guys next week. Take care.